Well, hey there. Welcome to another episode of Confessions of a Minimalist. With this little series that I've been doing, the Confessions of a Minimalist, they're basically like a podcast sort of episode. So they're episodes that I'm mainly just talking. So if you don't actually want to actually watch, you don't have to like sit and watch me just talking and flailing my hands about. You can just listen as well, almost as if it's a podcast. So for today's video, I'm sharing my minimalist habits that have changed my life forever. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. Let's take a look-see here. So the first one is not going into stores. This is a habit that I started pretty early on because I'm not much of a window shopper, for the fact that when I go into a store, I just get emotionally drawn in, and yeah, it's hard for me to like separate myself. Over the last, 7 or so years of being a minimalist, it is now a lot easier for me to go into a store. I can actually go into a store and separate myself emotionally from things. So I think if you are somebody that is like me and gets kind of drawn in with those impulses and those emotions, then yeah, keeping yourself out of stores is really a great choice. And these days, the whole technology, all these apps, everything makes it so easy to not go into stores. It definitely helped me in the beginning, because in the beginning, it is a lot harder. You're still working on changing your mindset and your perspective. So it was a great habit that really changed things for me. All right, the next one is kind of probably the most cliche minimalist habit, which is buying quality over quantity. So yeah, I'm sure you guys have heard many minimalists talk about quality over quantity. So I guess a good example would be like, obviously I have my fashion channel, and over there I talk about minimalist fashion a lot. With fashion, I think a lot of people are overconsume. And so a great example of this is like fast fashion versus like slow fashion. Fast fashion, you go into one of those stores and they're promoting, like 3 tank tops for $10, and you just fully get pulled in because you're like, oh my gosh, I can get 3 tank tops for $10. But when you really look at the quality of fabric, quality of the construction, quality of how it was produced, quality of the people that produced it for you, you start to realize like, oh yeah, that's kind of a lot. And really at the end of the day, it's like, do I really need 3 of this same exact tank top? Whereas then if you go to another place, more slow fashion, maybe a more minimalist brand, maybe more sustainable brand, and they've got 1 tank top for $20. And that might seem shocking, but then you look at the material that it's made out of. It's probably made out of, lovely, sustainable quality material. The construction's impeccable, so it's gonna last a lot longer. It's not gonna fall apart on you. That's a kind of an example of what less but better means. Next one is another obvious one, decluttering. Yes. So this is a big, obviously, minimalist habit. Some purist minimalists would probably say, well, if you're being a good minimalist, you wouldn't need to declutter. Well, there's a spectrum. I would definitely say I am not a purist minimalist. I'm not an extreme minimalist. So no matter what, we're human. We accumulate things. What I will say is, by being minimalist and changing your mindset to the things you're bringing into your life, your declutters definitely get a lot more streamlined. They're not as intense. So it's usually just a few things that you might be decluttering. And I usually just do it, every a few times a year, because I want to maintain the decluttering. I don't want it to kind of get out of hand. Also, to an extent as well, things do wear out and get old. So at some point you do have to get rid of things if they can't be fixed or repurposed or reused. Okay, next one, kind of another obvious one. Don't worry, they won't all be obvious. Is organizing. So usually decluttering and organizing sort of go together for me when it comes to habits. So I always like to kind of reset and get myself back to an organized system with all sorts of aspects of my life, like my closet, my pantry, my kitchen, my makeup drawer, my purse, whatever it is. Like, it's just always something I'm just sort of doing as a reset. It allows for you to be aware of what you have. And it also then allows for things to always have a place to go, because one, it just makes it easier to put stuff away and keep things tidy. And most of all, it just makes my life better. Like when things are organized, I feel organized. I feel calmer because it just makes things more functional. So that's kind of like a big thing for me. Okay, next one is cleaning my kitchen before bed. You know, if you've been to my house, you know, our friends and family know we like things tidy, you know, we do. So we always clean our kitchen right after we're done eating. And before going to bed, we make sure the kitchen is completely tidy, you know, dishes washed or put in the dishwasher, counters wiped down, table wiped down, you know, floors are vacuumed or swept. I feel like it helps me actually go to sleep at night. It's almost like it resets everything for me. Along with that, then when I wake up in the morning, I come into a clean slate, into a clean kitchen. I'm not waking up to chaos. Next one is a big one for me. Step away from impulse/emotions. I'm definitely a very emotional person. So I think for me, I'm lucky because my husband's helped me out a lot with this because he's not an emotional person. Like he doesn't make his decisions based on emotions. He's very much like a realist, very practical. So he definitely reins me in and balances me out. So he's for sure helped me with that. So I have to give him some credit in that regard. When we were house hunting, I definitely got emotional and sometimes would just be like, oh, let's just buy a house. You know, we'd look at a house. I would just be like, let's buy it because it's nice, it's whatever. And he would kind of remind me like, this isn't what we set out to get. Like we both said this, we have like a kind of set thing of what we want. And I'd be like, oh, but yeah, I don't think it's going to come along. This will be great, you know, whatever. And was basically bargaining with myself or sort of trying to negotiate with myself to convince myself that, you know, this was the right decision because I just wanted to get a house. Or I was just emotionally involved, or every time I looked at a house, I could like picture myself there, even if it wasn't technically the right house. And so each time I kind of had to step away and sort of calm myself and kind of snap myself out of it. That really helped me to then kind of come back around and be like, okay, no, you're right. Yeah, I'm back on the path. You do have to be mindful of that about yourself. Like if you're not aware of it, if you're not aware that that is who you are and that's what you do, it's really difficult to then actually, you know, form that habit of stepping away. Next one is committing long term. Looking at everything, almost anything that you're bringing into your life. You're looking at it as, is this something I'm going to commit to long term? And it really helps to change your perspective on a lot of things, like a piece of furniture, for an example. You're looking at it as, okay, is this something that really makes sense for my life? Does this make sense with my aesthetic? Is it quality? Will it last a long time? And is this something that I'm going to love for a long time? Is it something that I can repair over time? Is it something that can be repurposed over time? It's always about that long-term relationship. It helps you to make those harder decisions. It's not this sort of idea of like, oh, I can just buy this cheap setup and if it doesn't work out, I'll just get rid of it, or I'll just, you know, throw it away and get a new one, or I'll just shove it to, you know, corner in my house and get something else. And what ultimately this cultivates is that patience and that awareness. And the next habit is intentional with pieces, not stuff. When you start to think of everything that you're bringing in as a piece that is like curating your life, is like a part of this curation of your life, you stop looking at things as stuff. And when you stop looking at things as stuff, it helps you to make like a deliberate and intentional decision, which will ultimately, in the end, create a very minimalist, very curated, very intentional sort of life. It comes down to like the littlest of things. Even, let's say it's your toothbrush. I mean, no, that's getting kitchen towels, for example. I just got some kitchen towels. That's why it's my example. I look at that in a very intentional, deliberate way. So I'm looking at what is, you know, the aesthetic of my kitchen? Are those colors going to be functional and practical, you know, for long term? What is the quality of the materials? What's the quality of the construction? Really thinking about and having that intention or that deliberation when I make that purchase, because I see that as a piece versus just stuff in my life. I see it as something that is a part of my collection of life. All right, so those are minimalist habits that have changed my life forever. So definitely comment down below and let me know what you guys think. See if you agree, see if you have any other ones. Hopefully this video was helpful or at least entertaining, and I will look forward to chatting with you next time. All right, have a beautiful, wonderful day. Stay healthy, stay safe, love and support each other. I'll see you soon. Bye.